Welcome everyone to another episode of Eat, Sleep, Drive, and Happy New Year, of course. 2019 has come and gone, and every time another year comes and goes, cars get a little bit older as well, and when cars get a little bit older, they depreciate a little bit more. So what we're going to do today is cover 5 cars that have depreciated into what I'm going to say is a new price range or a new budget. So these are cars that maybe you've looked at before, but were like, they're still a little too expensive. These are cars that, I'm just shocked at how cheap you can get them. Some of them I've owned, all of them I've at least been in or driven, so I know that they're good. And I'm going to give you 5 specific examples today that have already been curated by me. So they have clean Carfaxes, they have under 100,000 miles. These are cars that I enjoy and would buy myself. So I'm not just picking crazy high mileage examples that just happen to be cheap. You can find multiple examples of these for these price ranges. So what we're going to do, 5 of them from under 10,000 to under 50,000. So whatever your price range is, you're going to find something today that I think might surprise you. Let's dive straight in. Under $10,000, if you're on more of a budget, this is a car that I absolutely love and adore, the Fiesta ST. Those of you guys that have followed my channel for a while know that I owned one of these for a little while, and I really, really love this car. It's just such a fun car to drive. I actually compare it a lot to my FRS, believe it or not, even though one's turbo, one's, front wheel drive, the other one's rear wheel drive and naturally aspirated. They're just they focus on fun. And despite the fact that they're not super fast, they're just fun to drive. And the Fiesta is just that car exactly. And what's nice about it is that it's actually practical too. As you can see here, it's got a hatch and it's got 4 doors. So you can kind of justify it as a daily driver, but still have fun with it. Now, these cars came with a 1.6 liter turbo engine. And despite the fact that some Ford products, as of late, have been semi-questionable, at least in my opinion, this one seems to be relatively reliable. When I sold mine, it had, I believe, around 80,000 miles, and now I actually know the guy that bought it from me. He's a friend of mine, and his has over 100,000 miles on it now, and he still hasn't really had any major issues. So they seem to be pretty reliable for what they are, and, it's a 2014. It's a relatively new car. And this one specifically, I'll show you guys, has the Recaro seats. There you go. Check out the Recaro seats, which are really nice. This has an upper tier package too, because it has this, I think it's maybe Sync ST2 or 3. I don't know. There's some package that indicates this. I had a base model and I really liked mine. This one's a little nicer than mine. And, this one looks pretty clean, has 70,000 miles on it, not too bad, less than the one that I had. And considering that it's under $10,000, I think it's just one of those cars that's transitioned. These were mid-teens for a while, really hanging on, and now they've gotten pretty cheap. And just hard to beat this amount of fun and reliability for under $10,000, in my opinion. Moving on from an American product, we're going to shoot into a German product for our next $10,000 category. We're moving up to under $20,000. And this is another car that I've owned, and I'm shocked to find that it's under $20,000 now, the BMW M235i. No, it's not the M2. No, it's not an M car, but it's still really good. And there's things about the M2 that are certainly better, but the M2 is more than twice as expensive even on the used market. And this is not half the car. It's a super fun, relatively light, really well balanced modern BMW that, it's not really something that BMW is doing very well as of late. But this has a twin turbo engine. This is the N55 engine. And, once again, these are cars I recommend, and I don't recommend a lot of modern BMWs because they have a lot of mechanical issues. N55 is not too bad. The worst thing that you kind of run into with these is more like leaks. Oil leaks are very common for the turbo BMWs, unfortunately. But if you watch some of my old videos, I show you how to fix those oil leaks because I've had 2 N55s at this point. These cars, which is something that I find interesting compared to the M2, actually have what I would consider to be a better suspension from a street point of view. The M2 has a fixed suspension. The M235i has an adaptive suspension. So it's much more comfortable on the road. But it still gets sporty as well because you can adjust it. So I really like that about these cars. And, they sell them in all-wheel drive, but I would get a rear-wheel drive one. Just, I think they're better balanced, less weight. There's no reason you need all-wheel drive with these cars. So this is an automatic, of course, as you can see by the stock here, but you can buy them in manuals. The manuals are pretty good. I had a manual one. I really enjoyed it. With some simple bolt-ons, you could make 400 horsepower and just have a awesome daily driver. Or if you really wanted a weekend car too, like it's fun enough to be to qualify for me as a weekend car. And you can get them for under 20 grand. I paid close to 30 for mine, which was only 2 years ago. So they have still depreciated quite a bit, and it's just a lot of car for the money. Speaking of a lot of car for the money, the next category, under $30,000. If I told you for under $30,000 you could get magnetic ride, a supercharged V8 that makes 580 horsepower, would you believe me? In a modern car? Well, believe it or not, you can. It's the Camaro ZL1, the first generation ZL1. There's been a lot of hubbub about the newer generation ZL1 because it's stupid fast, but the first generation one was no slouch at all. Supercharged V8, 580 horsepower, and as I mentioned, magnetic ride. If you haven't experienced magnetic ride before, you really need to get in a car with magnetic ride because it's kind of game changing. The comfort and performance aspect of magnetic ride is just kind of unparalleled because you can legitimately have both. It does so many like 1,000 computations per second or 1,000 adjustments per second or some crazy thing like that. So GM really packed in a lot of technology into this car, into this package. And I think these were close to $60,000 new or something like that. So you're getting one for half off, but they seem to be relatively reliable from everything that I've read. And they're just like an absolute menace on the street and on the track. It's one of the, it's when GM really started to make pony cars handle really well. And these cars you can take on a track and have a good time. A track with left and right turns, not just one that goes straight. But you could also take it to the drag strip as well because it has 580 horsepower. This one, I didn't want to just pick one that was an automatic because you can pick up the automatics cheaper. This one is a manual. You can find a manual one, 55,000 miles for under 30 grand. It's just a beast of a car. It looks menacing. I would definitely get it in black. I love the way it looks in black. I would probably change the wheels. These wheels aren't my favorite thing in the world, but man, that's just so much car for the money. And you should definitely check out a ZL1. I don't consider myself a muscle car guy, but the modern stuff has really transformed me, and these are great, great, great cars. So if you thought $30,000 like a ZL1 with 580 horsepower was a heck of a deal, we're going to step up $10,000 more, and we're going to step up to 700 horsepower, the Dodge Challenger Hellcat. This is terrifying. This is terrifying to me that these cars are now sub $40,000. The only thing preventing people from buying a 700 horsepower car before was the fact that these were like, 60, 70 grand, and they were even charging a premium right when they came out over that. But now that if you can afford a $40,000 car, which is close, by the way, to the average new car price for 2019, I believe it was around $36,000, which is pretty insane. But to get a used Hellcat for under 40 grand is just mind-boggling to me. These cars are so fun. They're just such a laugh. Like, it's just an absolute hoonigan of a car. What's weird about them, and if you've ever ridden in them or you've talked to people that ride in them, what it feels like to be in a Hellcat, even at highway speeds accelerating, is what it feels like to be in a car, like a slightly, more regular car in like first, second, third gear. It just pulls so hard at ungodly speeds. That 700 horsepower is no joke. They make wonderful noises because they're supercharged and you get that crazy whine. And it's just like, it's a fun car. Like, they handle okay. Not really like nearly as good as the ZL1 does, in my opinion. But once again, it's not really for that. It's sort of more of a grand tour, just like drag racer, but can also kind of hold its own type deal. I like this one in particular. It only has 44,000 miles. And what's surprising to me about these cars is that the research that I've done is that they're actually pretty reliable. The fact that Dodge could make an engine with 700 horsepower and it would like work is pretty surprising to me. If you would have told me that 10 years ago, I would have told you that you're crazy. But yeah, they've really stepped it up. And I really like this example. The red with black interior looks really nice. These seats look super supportive. This one's got the Harman Kardon audio system. I like it in white. I think I would prefer it in some other colors. I love, just the wild colors they have, the green, the purple. But look, for under $40,000, I'm not going to complain. This is a one-owner car, no accidents, 700 horsepower. You're not going to beat it. Like, you're not going to find a 700 horsepower car for under 40 grand. So buy this and go through tires. Save your money for tires because you're going to need it. $40,000. Okay, we've gotten to an incredible amount of car for $40,000, but what can you get for under $50,000? We've done a bunch of American cars and we've done a German car. We're going to go back to the Germans. What list would be complete without a Porsche 911? A modern Porsche 911, not like a older Porsche 911, not a 996, not a 997, a 991. 991 came out in around 2012, 2013 era. And for me, it was a big step up for Porsche, or a step back in the right direction. And that might be a controversial statement, but here's where I'm coming from with that. If you guys have followed my channel, you'll know that I had a 997 Porsche 911. And I absolutely love that car. So fun to drive, such a unique experience. But the one thing that really irked me quite a lot about that car is just the interior quality. It didn't feel like it was built very well. The materials weren't very good. I didn't like the design. It felt super dated. I'm going to show you a photo of what that looks like now, or what a 997 interior looks like. They were selling an interior like this up until 2012. That's pretty mind-boggling to me because look at how dated this is. Like these buttons, the center stack, and I can tell you, you can't really tell in the video. You can't tell in the video how an interior feels, but from owning this car, it's just like everything was cheap. These plastics were very cheap. There wasn't a lot of soft touch stuff going on, and this was a period of Porsche where they were trying to figure out how to be more profitable. They weren't making a whole ton of money, and they employed some Toyota engineers, which are great for, doing the functional kind of aspect, but the cars didn't really have like a luxury feel to them that you would expect from a Porsche. Like Porsche carries a certain image, at least in my head, that it should be of a certain standard. So what's nice about the 991, and with this long tangent that I'm going on, is that the big thing that they really improved was, in my opinion, the build quality and the quality of materials. Like, look at the new interior on these cars. I think it's like, I love this center stack. It looks so much more modern. The materials have gotten a lot better. It just, like, a 991 feels so much more premium to me than the 997 that I owned. And that's really where I think it makes more sense to step up to them, outside of the fact that they improved the car in every way. They made it lighter. It is bigger. So that's where the controversy comes in. A lot of people say that, well, they don't like the new 911s because they've just gotten so big, and they did increase the wheelbase and stuff. But when you increase the wheelbase, it rides so much better. So once again, from a street point of view, these are just far superior to the 997s, and controversial because they went to electric power steering, but it's still pretty good. This one's an automatic, but if you're gonna get an automatic, you get the best automatic in the world, and that's Porsche's PDK. This is just such an attractive car to me. I mean, the fact that you can get this thing for under 50 grand is mind-boggling. I mean, it just looks expensive. And look, when you drive these, they feel expensive, and it's certainly going to feel like more than a $50,000 car. I can guarantee you that. I love these things, and as you can tell, I've been kind of looking at them. This one has under 70,000 miles. Once again, like clean Carfax and all that stuff. You can find modern 911s for under 50 grand. And if you have 50 grand to spend, it's a car that I think you should look at. If you have a little more to spend, maybe look at the Carrera S, because those are even better. But guys, so many cars for so little money, in my opinion. Every one of these kind of increments is just kind of like blows me away, what you can get for your dollar. As I mentioned before, I've owned a couple of these, and I would recommend all of these because they're all fantastic cars. And for the price, they're kind of hard to beat. Will they continue to depreciate? Probably. Certain ones will, at least. But I think it's a good entry point for any one of these because it's just a lot of value per dollar. Now, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Are there some cars that I missed? Certainly, there are other cars that are good value for dollar. Don't get me wrong, but I wanted to pick some stuff that it's like, I can't believe you can get this for under 40 grand or under 30 grand. You know what I mean? So these are maybe cars that you haven't thought about in a while. I think the ZL1 doesn't get talked about nearly as much as it should. I think the M235i is a great car. I've talked that car up for a very long time. So, look into these. They're great cars, and let me know in the comments below, like I said, if you agree. And if you don't, let me know. Let me know what you think. So, appreciate you guys watching. As always, this has been another episode of Eat, Sleep, Drive, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Let's start with the engine. The engine is an N55 twin power. That's not to be confused with twin turbo BMW turbo engine.